Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Wood. Welcome inside the Neighborwood. Today, I have a special guest, my brother-in-law, JaRob McCallum.
What's going
Welcome
on?
inside
What's
the
going on?
Neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
been a long time, but it's
yeah,
finally here.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Excited to be a
yeah,
guest on this podcast, and
yeah.
been looking forward to it
Yeah,
for sure.
appreciate you coming.
Yeah,
Appreciate you
most
coming.
definitely.
Man, so, with the platform, I just want to give everybody a chance to just share their story and,
Mm-hmm.
their journey and kind of some things that they've been through. So,
Yeah.
maybe we just start from the beginning,
Right.
obviously we have a lot of history as far as becoming family and being family
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but,
Absolutely.
like maybe just introduce yourself to the viewers, where you
Yeah.
from, what you've done, what you got going on.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So again, my name is JaRob McCallum from Marion, Indiana. Grew up right down the street from B Woods.
Hmm.
Marion Giant played there for 4 years, basketball wise. I think that's definitely what connected us.
Hmm.
He was a few years older than me, so I was. It was funny. I got the honor to actually be you in the scout report back in
Really?
high school. Yeah,
Oh,
so they're like,
wow.
yeah, you beat Woods, so we're gonna let you get the ball. You could just shoot it right when you
I know
cross
he was
half
going
court. Just let
crazy. I
that
know he was
mother-
going crazy.
and them was the best practices I
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
Right there
You
for
can just
real.
play free and
Yeah,
just let it
play
ride.
free, relax, just get buckets,
Yeah,
give the varsity guys
that's what's
a
up.
fit throughout the week. But yeah, so just had that experience, playing in the NCC,
Hmm. Hmm.
being, in Indiana, Midwest Indiana, getting the
Hmm.
basketball experience there.
Hmm.
Went on to college, got to play college basketball. Went to University of Milwaukee. I had a chance to play, you again. We was in
Yeah,
the same
yeah, yeah,
conference,
yeah,
for a
yeah.
couple of years.
Some good battles. Some
Yeah,
good
had some
battles. We'll
really
get we'll
good
get to.
battles. We'll get to those. I'm sure we will. We definitely get to those. But yeah, got that experience, and then of course, during our high school time, you met my sister.
Hmm.
You guys, had your love story begin then, and
Hmm.
got
Hmm.
to know you a little bit more from that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then after college, I finished my career at IUPUI. Got a chance to play there with my younger brother. That was a great opportunity.
Hmm.
And then for me, basketball kind of took a little different journey. Um, kind of had a different spiritual walk,
Hmm. Hmm.
with my path there, and it just kind of led me to look at life a little bit differently and to navigate into different things
Hmm.
outside of basketball.
Hmm.
Kind of
Hmm.
finding my purpose, my lane. Outside of hoops, still deal with it a little bit with personal training and things like that. But just kind of more focused on the ministry side
Hmm.
of things and whatnot. I'm currently working for a hospital right now on the project management information system side,
Nice, nice.
and then still blessed with that position and still having the opportunity, to still minister, still
Hmm.
work with hoops and things like that, work
Hmm.
with the next generation, and
Hmm.
try to give them some of the experiences that I had,
Hmm.
being able to go to college, get that education, get that degree, and
Yeah,
just learn a little bit about life.
yeah, yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
that's definitely familiar with most of that. Look
yeah,
forward to going
absolutely.
through all that.
Hmm.
But let's just start from the beginning. As far as what kind of brought us together, the game of basketball.
Yeah.
Who put the ball in your hands? How was the game introduced to you?
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely my pops. We got videos from us, being kids. We had the little mini hoops,
Hmm.
playing in
Hmm.
the crib.
Hmm.
He used to buy us a little jerseys. Me and my little brother used to, go one on one,
Hmm.
in the bedroom on the mini hoops. We was one of the kids that had the hangers. We used to make little basketball
Hmm.
hoops out of
Yeah,
hangers. Have all kind
yeah.
of different basketballs around the house. Made of duct tape, made of
Hmm.
socks.
Yeah,
Anything we
yeah.
could really find.
Remember them days.
And
Yeah.
we keep tally, our series and all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. So
Hmm.
it started at a young age.
Hmm.
My family background, my dad played, my uncle played, he coached,
Hmm.
at a college level, played at the college level.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of always in my family.
Hmm.
Um, and then just something that just kind of naturally took to,
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
I, just matured
Yeah.
as a youth. And just something that, I found joy and fun and excitement doing and just kind of creativity, I guess you could say,
Hmm. Hmm.
playing the game of basketball.
Yeah.
So that's where it all began, and definitely, give props and kudos to my pops,
Hmm. Hmm.
for kind of getting me started with that. So
Yeah, for sure. How was it coming, or how is it, or how was it being a part of a basketball family, a family that's known from the game
yeah,
of basketball? Maybe share a little bit who your family is, and
yeah, for
just
sure.
share how that is.
Yeah, so it was exciting for sure. So my uncle is Ray McCallum. He was a basketball player at Ball State University. Went to Muncie Central, won a state championship at Muncie Central. Stayed home, played at Ball State. Was an all-time leading scorer at Ball State. I think he might have even got a MAC championship during the time that he was there. And then he actually went from coaching. He coached at Wisconsin for a little bit, I believe, and then he ended up going back to Ball State and coaching. So that's around the time that I was born and coming up. So, I mean, elementary, I used to go to Ball State games, so being able to, sit behind the bench, see Bonzi Wells playing at the time, Dwayne Clemens, some of those guys that, performed well and played well, had some good careers. Seeing at a younger age just kind of lit that fire, the inspiration in me a little bit. I remember a lot of details, like I said, from going to the games to even after the games, leaving the parking lot and, fans being excited and the cars lining up. And then at the same time, a lot of my family's from Muncie. So going to Muncie, visiting my family, that kind of being like our hometown and whatnot. So McCallum name was kind of big, around the city and things like that in that retrospect. But yeah, so yeah, I think that kind of definitely played a big impact. And then even going into middle school and high school, being able to travel to the different schools that my uncle coached at. I believe he coached at Oklahoma, so being able to go to that camp. He was at IU for a little bit, going to that camp. One of my favorites was going out to Houston when he was coaching out there with Kelvin Sampson for a period of time. So, all those experiences, I think, definitely benefited us as far as just being able to go at a younger age. We had AAU and stuff like that, but being able to actually go to those camps, you're like meeting the kids from that area and from those states and just kind of picking up on how they play basketball, their language out on the court and everything like that. So definitely an awesome experience to be able to come from, a family with a basketball background like that. So
yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't too familiar with your family before I met you and your sister, but as I became family, spending times in Muncie and Marion together, you can just feel the respect that your family and your family name holds. So that's definitely something I've always felt and understood. So much more respect towards that. I know you family just continue to represent the name, so that's great. It gives me chills just kind of
I know thinking about it. I was like,
Yeah.
man, we used to travel, saw some great players and some cool experiences and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely don't take that for granted.
Yeah. As a kid, did you play other sports other than basketball or only hoop?
Yeah, so I played. I ran cross country a lot. My dad said I was a runner from a young age, just something I just would just get up and just take off. So I ran cross country. I did track and field. I did soccer for a little bit, and then dabbled with basketball or football and baseball a little bit. But just naturally, basketball was pretty much my main sport. I played golf. I say now golf is like my favorite sport. I love that. But for me, so I was raised a 7-day Adventist. So 7-day Adventist, we believe that Friday night, Saturday, or sunset Friday to sunset Saturday is a Sabbath. So for me growing up, they kind of put me in a place where I didn't get to play a lot of sports because of that. I played throughout the week, but as I got to like high school, you have more sports that's being taken place on like Friday nights and Saturdays and things like that. So I pretty much just had to narrow it down to the one, with basketball. That way I could, in my own way, try to keep the Sabbath, and then at the same time, being able to participate in a sport. So I kind of narrowed my sports down a little bit early on, probably around like middle school, high school age, to what I wanted to stick with.
How do you think that impacted you just playing multiple sports, and maybe what are your thoughts as far as kids and, playing multiple sports or sticking to one sport? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, I say my advice would be to play as many as you can. I feel like being at the level that I was able to get to athletically, I feel like being able to play different sports will allow your body to grow and develop on different playing fields, different playing levels.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like a lot of the movements, a lot of the mechanics, a lot of the mobility will translate over to other sports.
Like kind of complement each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you say, oh, I don't really like running in track, or I don't really like soccer or things like that, or even baseball, you got to think of as an athlete, how can, if my focus is basketball, cross country track, that's going to build my endurance. That's going to help with my breathing. We were kind of talking about that earlier. Soccer, of course, footwork, highly skilled, footwork and technique. That's definitely going to allow you to perform well on the basketball court. And then even baseball, hand-eye coordination. You got baseballs coming at you 80 miles, 90 miles per hour. Sometimes in basketball, that reaction time is that fast and that quick and things like that. So I feel like it translates So especially if you're young, if you got the opportunity, do it early, and then maybe like later on, kind of narrow it down and kind of focus on one sport.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to me. I played pretty much all the same sports
Yeah.
until high school, and then narrowed it down to the hoop.
Yep.
And even to relate that to where I'm at now, still playing and still figuring out my body, understanding my body, and how I can continue to enhance it. I've taken on more things that I've ever done. I'm doing the martial arts, I'm doing swimming, I'm doing the yoga. So it's still like I'm still seeing like my body and everything still mold at 35 years old. So it's special to see like the power of our body.
Absolutely.
It's like endless.
Yeah,
It's limitless.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's the kind of beauty of when you get a little bit older, being able to have a better understanding of your body. When you're younger, you don't really think about it. You just get up and go. I'm gonna go run and jump as high as I can, run as fast as I can. You don't really think about the intricacies or the dynamics of it. When you get older, you focus more on that, and then that's why we can look at these different sports and see how they correlate. Building, like you said, longevity. Now I'm trying to make sure my knees keep working, my ankles and everything like that. So challenging myself in a different way where I can still keep that functionality. When in the way that I move and whatnot.
So going into high school, maybe share how your high school career was, how'd that play out, and then as you started to get recruited by colleges.
Okay. Yeah. So so as a freshman, I was able to play on the JV team. So I played JV my freshman year, sophomore year. Freshman year we had a decent year. I think we lost maybe like three or four games maybe. So at Marion during the time that there we was pretty stacked. We had a lot of really good players, a lot of players that did go on and play at high level. Some that could have definitely went on to play at high level. So as a freshman, I'm playing with Scotty Wood, who went on to play at NC State, all ACC, and I believe like 3-point percentage, top 10, free throws, top 5 and things like that. Had a great career there. Jovan Freshwater, who was a phenomenal point guard, just a playmaker. So we were all in the same class, so being able to go, and play with those guys, play with David Buchanan. He was part of that team. He went on to play at FAMU and Morehead, and Morehouse, sorry. And then he's out in California, and he's one of the top trainers out there in California right now.
Oh, nice.
And so had a lot of skill around it. So it just kind of made the game a little bit easier. For me being able to play alongside talent like that. Sophomore year, we actually went, I say 18-0 because the first game I didn't get to play, they was kind of teetering me between varsity and JV.
Okay.
So we played Lawrence
That's
North.
Sophomore year?
This was my sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah, sophomore year. So we played Lawrence North the first game of the season, and I didn't even get to clock in any minutes there because of that. So then after that, I ended up playing JV throughout the rest of the season. We ended up going 18-0, 19-1 that season, and we was pretty good. We used to give varsity fits, all the time. We during that time, we even got an article written about us down in Indianapolis paper and stuff like that, just from our success and everything. And really, right around that time is when I started to get some of my first offers and first looks from colleges.
Sophomore year.
My sophomore year. Yep. So I was getting recruited by Xavier, Dayton, Kent State, Ohio was in the mix. Couple of other schools. They even got some big name colleges had a little bit of interest. Got some letters from Stanford at the time, Penn State at the time, Clemson at the time. We're sending some interest letters over there. So that's kind of when the process all began for me. Then going into my sophomore year, our varsity actually went on to semi-state. We lost to semi-state versus Angel Garcia, Etwan Moore, all those guys from East Chicago.
Me and Angel, when Angel first came to America, he joined our AAU team.
Oh, for real?
So we played AAU right when he got in the country before he could speak any English.
I know that was probably the
He
experience.
was cold. He was way ahead of his time. He was like 6'10" then.
Yeah.
He was like way ahead of his time as far as like being like that stretch four, shooter, scorer.
He was different, because he was inside, outside, and then like you said, his English wasn't that good either. So he just out there just playing, just hooping. So we got to play against them. That was a good game. That was even up north. I think we played at East Chicago.
Okay.
And then they actually played Eric Gordon in the state championship that year.
Yeah, that was my senior year. I remember that.
Okay, yeah. That'll be your senior year. And then my junior year, that was our state year. So we did well that year. I think we lost like 5 games. Heck of a season. I feel like that season right there, you could do a documentary. We got a mini one out there, but I feel like we could go like a full, limited series on that year there, man. We had, some up and downs throughout the season. Fun and exciting. Brought us together as a team towards the end there. Made a nice.
What you think carried that team? At the high school level, what do you think carries a team to make that type of run?
Man, I think for us, it was just kind of being in Marion. At the time, we were tied for the most championships in the state. The year before that, we had a crazy, battle against Muncie Central, who was kind of in the same bubble. I think they had just went to state back to back that year. So for me, we gotta outdo Muncie Central because that's where my family's from, and whatnot. And so, but just that, who's going to be the next team to get the state? Here's our chance to get that state championship and then go up. So I think just kind of like that, the purple and gold pride that they say. I think that had a lot to do with it. And then our group of guys, we were pretty much mixed between our at the time juniors and seniors, and so we were really close. We grew up, playing together in elementary on up to middle school, and then here we get an opportunity to win a state championship together. So I think at the end, that's what we was like all kind of like brothers and stuff like that. We would fight, tussle, argue, fight, all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, we got each other's back, encouraging each other, uplifting each other. So I think that definitely plays a big role in it. I think that's the biggest thing I would say. You gotta like each other. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Because egos can definitely come into play. We had like I said, we had a group of guys. Everybody was getting recruited. Everybody was getting looked at. So it easily could have been one of those situations where it's like, oh well, I'm gonna just focus on me. I'm gonna do me, make sure I get mine. But this was more like, okay, we gotta buy in. We gotta look out for each other. We gotta play together. And when we played together, I mean, it was hard to stop. I mean, we went to state that year, So I think that was huge. Just buying in together as a team and just playing together.
How was that state game?
The state game, it was, man. So, like I said, that whole experience was crazy. So going into the state game, the night before state game, we lose our starting point guard due to some off the court reasons. So we lose our starting point guard. That moved me into the starting position. I was a 6th man that year, but I had got injured right before the state game. So I was in the weight room doing some lifting too heavy, and actually like pulled a muscle in my chest. And so semi-state game, I didn't even really clock that many minutes because I was playing injured and playing hurt. And then the whole week, trying to rehab, they gave me acupuncture. I was going to physical therapist. They was kind of doing all kind of crazy stuff. I was going to school. I had like needles in my ear for like acupuncture, trying to like pinpoint the area that was hurting. I went to a vet. I remember I went to a veterinarian. I went to a veterinarian and they hooked me up with some acupuncture, techniques and stuff like that. Wow. So I'm like,
whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, yeah. So we dealing with that. So it was like some of those was kind of the bigger issues going in there. And then, Brownsburg was a pretty good team. Gordon Hayward. Julius did a really good job of locking him up. I didn't mention Julius, but I got to play with him. He played at NC State, went on to play at Kentucky, played at Wright State. He was in the Horizon League with us for a little bit. Had a great career, went overseas and played as well like that. And so, he did a really good job of holding him. Julian Mavunga was another really good player playing overseas, went to Miami, Ohio. So, they were a really good team. They had some good pieces. They slowed the game down on us. We was a fast-paced team, lost our point guard. Our starting point guard, I was kind of, in and out of it, so I couldn't really push and go like I wanted to. Scott Wood kind of struggled a little bit to kind of find his rhythm, find his flow. So, that game went by so quick.
Really?
It's crazy looking back at it. It was one of those, it went by so slow, but it went by so quick. Yeah, it was one of those things. But it was a fun experience, man. Being able to be here in Indiana as a kid growing up,
championship game.
Talk about that, get to the state championship, playing where the Pacers play at, see the sea of, purple and gold in the crowd and all that kind of stuff. We kind of had, I even looking back at it, I try to find the good in everything. We had our little moment where even though we didn't win, we got to see the stands erupt and like kind of go crazy. Scotty hit a last second shot there to put us up one, and just seeing everybody go
be in
nuts.
the atmosphere.
Just be in that atmosphere, seeing your friends, your family, just go nuts and go crazy. Granted, the next few moments it was kind of complete opposite, but just being able to have that moment, and to see that was definitely an awesome experience there.
So. Oh, that's awesome to hear that you're able to grasp it in that way.
Yeah. Got to.
Headed into your freshman year of college, how was that adjustment going from high school into college?
Yeah, so it was definitely a big adjustment because I always tell my young guys now, it's like the responsibility kind of hits you, pretty quick. You don't got your parents getting you up for the morning. You don't got your your parents tell you make sure you do this. You don't got your teachers, keep it making sure you're keeping up with your books and stuff like that. Your assignments. For me, I had 2 weeks after I graduated high school to report to campus. So my summer was super short. So I had to report for summer school. And so even in summer school, they gave me a dorm, gave me a class list, find your classes, figure it out. Here's your food stipend, make sure you feed yourself and everything like that. So it was a cool experience, just kind of being out there on my own. I was in Milwaukee, so it was like 7 hours away, not too far, but at the same time, it was kind of far from home. But yeah, so I think that was a big transition there. And then just the workout schedule, of course, is definitely different. Getting up 6 a.m. workouts, 6 a.m. practices, making sure you go to class right after that. Got to stay up in class, right after
study
class.
Tables.
You got your study tables. You got your workouts in the midday. You may have another little evening class you got to go to.
Man, I'll be looking back. I'm like, man, I wonder how I used to go through that all day without a nap.
Exactly.
Like,
that's what
I'm like, dang, I don't think I was taking naps back then.
No, not at all.
Now it's like, it's crazy thinking back.
Yeah. Like I'll be like, man,
it's a big commitment being a student athlete in college. Like that's a very, very big commitment.
I'm like, man, how did I get through the day? Because I'm like you said, now it's like, man, can I sneak a little 20-minute nap in, a 30-minute nap
Back
in?
then, there wasn't no chance for me to get no 20, 30 minutes. If I ain't had 3 or 4 hours, it wasn't really probably no nap going on.
Exactly. And then the times you do want to get your nap, I mean, your roommate, your teammates in there playing around and stuff like that, so you don't really get a chance to. And then them nights be late. You going to sleep at 10, 11, and then you getting up at 6 o'clock to go work out and all that kind of stuff. I looked back at like, man, how did I get through a day? And you should do that for 3/4 of the year, if not longer than that. So it was definitely a big transition, major transition. But yeah, when we go into the season and everything like that,
we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, actually, we go there now. So yeah, we both played in the Horizon League. I was at Valpo. He was at UW Milwaukee. So we played each other multiple times each year. So that was always a moment we look forward to. Our families would come together. We'd just get that moment as a family.
I know. Yeah.
One of them.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but one of our games, it was pretty epic. Ooh,
Excuse me.
Yeah, we were at Valpo. Like I said, all of our families were there. My side of the family, your side of the family. And we had a game where it came down to the wire, and we both were going back and forth, hitting tough big shot after tough big shot. We did come out with the dub. I'm gonna send the footage to my boy here in a little bit, so we can clip it in with this. But yeah, man, maybe just share your memories of that game.
Man, yeah. So, man, that game. I think it was definitely probably. I'm trying to think how that season went. I think it might have been one of, for sure, kind of like one of my bigger coming out games, because. So we can kind of go back to this or double back on it if you want, and I can just kind of talk about that whole experience. But I didn't get – so when I went as a freshman, they told me I was going to play, right? Get a chance to play, get a chance to start and everything like that. But then when I got there, they actually said, we're going to redshirt you this year. So I was just like, man, I didn't come here to redshirt. You know what I mean? I worked too hard for it. So I decided not to redshirt. So I kind of went through a little adversity beginning of the season where I didn't get to play like the first few games, missed out on the preseason NIT. So got to miss playing in some really cool arenas and things like that. And then got my chance to perform and perform well and got myself, moved into that rotation. So that Valpo game, I believe, was the first game coming back to Indiana, coming back to the crib and whatnot. So I just like, okay, yeah, I'm about to just play free. I got the family in the crib. I really ain't got nothing to lose at this point. Big bro out there. I was like, I done played against him. He the best player on the team. I got to beat him. I got to play against him. And I did all right. I think I'll be good out here. So so it's definitely one of those coming out games. And man, I just remember you just kind of, would just get me excited. Like just some of the moves and stuff you did, some of the shots you was making. I'm like, man, like, you watching the other team, you ain't supposed to get excited and geeked up. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a tough move. Let me go see if I can do something, one of those, NCC type things, because you know everybody. And so you want to play well against them. And at the end of the day, you cool, you hoop in the summer and stuff like that. So, I mean, I remember just going down the stretch. That's when things kind of turned up. I mean, you hit a couple of tough shots in the corner.
Yeah, one of them was a step back on my boy Ant.
Yeah, one of them was
shout out to my boy Ant.
Yeah. You was like in the corner going left, and you like
going to the right. I step back, going to the right, step back like that. It was like a fade.
Yeah, that step back fade. So you remember that one? That one was tough too. But I remember like you did like a spin in that corner because you hit like 2 or 3 shots in that corner, and I'm like, man, like you did one going left, you brought it back out. And you spun back to the left corner. I think it was like a mid-range. And you shot like a fade going out of bounds. I'm like, that is tough.
Well, when that was cool because probably like in the last couple of months, that video popped up.
Yeah.
And like each time when I'm watching, I watch like, because you remember your family was sitting over behind your bench. My family was over here. Aileen was over here with them.
Exactly.
So I'm like watching back and forth, and they kind of like both going up and down. And then at the end, it's like, you can just see Aileen kind of like not knowing kind of what to do. She just like,
she didn't know how to celebrate. I think so. The play, when I went back and watched that film, because they got like the perfect angle, because you can kind of like see our family and stuff back there. I think you went down and you hit a shot. I think I came down. I might have hit a 2, and then so this was like down within the final seconds. I think you hit the shot to go up. It was like 2 or no, you hit the shot to go up 2. I think, and so I got the ball, pass it into me, and I just push it straight up the right side of the court, and I just go straight into a 3. I don't even think about it, no hesitation. I let that mug go, and I remember Aileen was standing there. She was like standing up, geeked up, because y'all had just went up. And I let that mug go. That mug dropped. She like went to a cheer and then like went like this and went back to a cheer, just like kind of caught in between. I thought that was the funniest thing ever.
It was.
But yeah, then I knocked that mug down, and then the next play, man, that inbounds play. I think
caught a couple of timeouts, so it was delayed. It was delayed.
It drug it out, and so it's drug it out. We was up 1, and we ended up getting a stop somehow. I don't know if it's some exchange of free throws, but we ended up getting a stop.
I think somebody traveled or something.
Yeah. So we ended up getting the ball out underneath the basket, and we had to pass it in. And this was like 2 to 3 seconds left. So they inbound the ball. James Ayers throws it up. And I'm like, man, just throw it in the backcourt. Throw it in the backcourt. We winning this. And then who's your point guard?
Brandon McPherson. He came in, and it was like a full head of steam. He just intercepted that mug. Full speed layup
right down the middle of the lane, no contest or nothing. I'm like, I ain't gonna be on ESPN.
Yeah, I remember I was like jumping. I'm like, oh shoot, get back.
Exactly. I'm like, no, how did that happen? And then so it happened like that, and then we had to inbound it quick, and then I got it again, and I was on that same side, and I threw up like a 3/4 shot. And that mug almost went in. That mug, it like went off the backboard and like kind of went in and out and came out. So I almost ended it there. But yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was definitely a top memory, top moment of my life for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, man. And after the game, like I said, just be with the family. I feel like we put on a good show for them.
Oh, it could have been better.
It could have been any better than that. Being able to give them that type of performance, and especially like you going back and forth, because you had like. Would you end up having that game?
20-something.
You had 20-something. I think I ended the game with like 19. Yeah, so as a freshman too, that was geeked up after that, And so, that was fun, man. And then, like I said, just meet with Aileen after the game, but she's just like, dang, y'all have me going through it. You know what I mean? So, man, that was definitely one of my highlights for sure.
For sure. So
Yeah.
something you shared a little bit ago about your how your spiritual journey associated with your hoop career.
Yeah.
How was that? You know, because I know there'd be times where during that time
Yeah.
period, you're not going to practice, you're not going to games.
Mm-hmm.
How was that? How was that commitment, and how was it for you? Like, was it
Yeah.
ever tough?
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure it
Absolutely.
was. Yeah.
Absolutely. So going back to like middle school, I mentioned like I did play high school basketball, so of course those games were on Friday on Saturdays. My mom, she her side of the family was Adventist. On my dad's side of the family, my great grandfather was Adventist, and whatnot. And so the observance of the seven-day Sabbath, that was something that my mom gave me the responsibility to choose to keep. She said, when I became of age, you got to make your own choice, your own decision. Your relationship with God is the most important relationship with God. So being young, I kind of processed it, my own way, trying to balance, what I want out of life versus the direction I feel like God is calling me to go. And so ultimately, I decided to go to college and play basketball. It kind of worked out with me at Milwaukee. It being our schedule in the Horizon League, we mostly played Thursday night games. We didn't really play many Friday night games, and then all of our Saturday games were Saturday night games. So it kind of allowed me to observe it in a sense where we would travel and things like that. And whatnot. And then, on Saturdays, kind of we had shoot arounds and stuff like that, but I still got to chill out, for most of the day. And, it was just kind of like, that was like my period in my life where, I was convicted, in many different ways. It's college and things like that. I'm not about to sit up here and, say I was a saint. I lived the college lifestyle and things like that. I had the different influences and things like that where I had to decide, is this for me? Is this not for me? Is this environment? Is this crowd for me? Is this not for me? So I had my own little personal battles and things like that. But I feel like all of that shaped me into, who I began to be as an adult, where I really grounded my faith, my beliefs at. So I was at Milwaukee for 3 years, transferred to IUPUI. And that's where I kind of really started to pursue my faith a little bit more, really, ground myself in my beliefs and in the word and in the Bible, really try to, dive into it as deeply as possible to try to get the best discernment and understanding as I possibly could. And so when I went to IUPUI, I actually said, I'm not going to play on Saturday. That's just my beliefs. I'm going to be here 110%. I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm going to be that leader. I'm going to be that guy. But in the hours of the Sabbath, I got to, give that to God. I got to give that to the Lord. And they were cool with it. You know what I mean? They were cool with it the first year. I had to sit out that year. But as far as practices, I didn't always show up, and things like that. So, being that leader, I think when I was there, I was the closest, or I had the most experience of actually playing. I think next to me, the next guy that had like experience playing was like, I think they averaged maybe like 5 minutes a game or something like that. So it was a lot of newer guys, a lot of juniors and juniors coming seniors that were now getting minutes and things like that. So they did expect me to be that leader. So actually going into the year that I was supposed to play, that's when I kind of got challenged a little bit, on my faith. I even got to the point where they threatened to take my scholarship away. I was on full ride scholarship. They threatened to take my scholarship. Well, if you're not going to play, we're going to take your scholarship. We're going to cut your minutes and we're not going to play you and things like that. So it's just like this whole kind of thing, coaches switch up on me, which the Bible talks about that all the time. When you stand for God, you put your faith forward, you're going to get that pushback. You're going to get that adversity. You're going to face that adversity. Things aren't going to be easy. It's going to be tough for you. And so I got my own little personal experience of that. You know what I mean? And I think I handled it well, navigated it well, just being solid in what I believe. I didn't let it change me, in any way, as far as being a teammate and things like that. We struggled at IUPUI, complete 360 from where we was at Milwaukee. Milwaukee, we went in 19, 20 games, won in the conference championship. To IUPUI, it's like we're 2-20 something, you know what I mean, back to back. And so the culture, the environment was completely different. But I feel like it was one of those seasons in my life where it's more so for my spiritual growth and development, because now I'm battling, or not battling, but balancing my passions, my desires with, again, where I feel like God is calling me to be, you know, and whatnot. So yeah, it was a very interesting, you know, experience for me, you know, looking back on it and whatnot. Kind of finding um, my own religion in it, so to speak, you know, as far as like my practices, my beliefs, my routine, you know, my integrity and things like that. So yeah. Yep.
No, I appreciate you sharing
Yeah,
that. You
for
know,
sure.
on the outside looking in, you know, obviously I'm your brother-in-law, so
Yeah.
me and your sister having a conversation, I never really knew the context behind it, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like how, you know, from someone who doesn't come from that, it could be like, you know, who hadn't at that point established any type of framework for my own life.
Yeah.
It'd be like, it's like, dang, that's a tough decision, you know,
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
that's a tough decision, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
more so for somebody that didn't have that upbringing and wasn't aware of that. So yeah, thanks
Yeah,
for
and
sharing that.
it was huge, man. It's hard to sometimes articulate, because it was hard. You know what I mean? It was extremely hard
I
because
mean, to me, it's like not to cut you off, it's
Yeah.
like a discipline thing. You know,
Absolutely.
it's discipline. I feel like
Yeah.
everything is discipline. So like for you to have the discipline early, obviously you're kind of set up with it
Yeah.
through your family, you know, but to have that discipline and to stand up to
Right.
that, you know,
Yeah,
against
yeah.
something that you want to do, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm sure when you are at home during those times, you wanted to be there
Yeah.
playing or at practice or on the court.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah.
so yeah, I think that just speaks to your discipline then, and that, like you said, it's prepared you for where you are now.
Yeah.
You know, with that foundation of discipline.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I think you know, I always look back at, you know, the story when Christ was tempted in the wilderness. You know, one of the things that he was tempted with was the riches, you know, and the wealth, and, you know, having the fame and the fortune, you know, having the world at his hands, you know, and you know, that's where the time, you know, Christ told, you know, the devil, get behind him. You know, we shouldn't glorify those type of things. And, you know, just being honest, you know, speaking frankly, a lot of that comes with athletes. You know, it kind of comes with that culture, you know, where people want to be famous, they want to be rich, they want to get those high paying contracts, especially now, you know, when they want to be on the commercials, they want to get, you know, all the shoe deals and things like that. And so that was something that I battled with, you know. For me, it wasn't like I wasn't, and not to, you know, I don't want to toot my own horn, so to speak, but, you know, I wasn't one of the persons that were like, oh, well, I can't have a career after, you know, college basketball. You know, I was very much projecting to have a career, you know, after basketball, even dabbling with, you know, G League, you know, D League at the time, you know, getting some of those contracts in the NBA and whatnot. You know, like I said, my sophomore year, we won Horizon League championship. My freshman year, I was a freshman of the year in the Horizon League. Going into my junior year, I only played 60 games in my junior year at Milwaukee, but we were projected to, you know, be on top of the league that year again. That was really about to be my come out year, you know, in the Horizon League, coming off of that freshman year, winning the conference my sophomore year, getting to the conference championship, to go to the NCAA tournament, and then some injuries, and then just kind of some self-reflection in that junior year, kind of like ended it, so to speak, where I only played the six games, and just was trying to find that balance and figure everything out. And then that led to my transfer. But even then, you know, when I got to IUPUI with everything that happened, you know, we played in the Vegas tournament. I was all team on that tournament with Jordan Clarkson, Kyle Anderson, Zach Levine, and there was one other guy, but I was top 5 on that list, you know, in that tournament, you know, performing well. So it was still opportunities where I did get to play. I performed at a point where, oh, this guy can, you know, can go do something with it. You know what I mean? But again, it was just like, okay, has my character been refined enough to a place where I'm willing to go that route and handle all of those things? Some people can, you know what I mean? And whatnot. Not to say I was focused on the fame, the fortune, the riches, and all that kind of stuff, but it was more like, okay, what am I called to do? Am I called to be in that lane, you know, or am I called to be in a different lane, you know? And so I think that's kind of where my path just kind of led me, and just kind of where my self-reflection and processing, you know, kind of took me to be at. So, so it was definitely tough, because it's like, man, I got my friends. I'm like, man, I can go to the league. I can go overseas. I can get this. I can get that. Set my family up nice, get rich and all that kind of stuff and whatnot. And it was just some things that, I always try to think deeply, on stuff like that. And, some of my thoughts was like, okay, even if I did get rich and make a bunch of money, playing basketball and stuff like that, I'm the type of person that I give stuff away. On the deeper levels, it's like, oh,
you
shoot,
and me both.
if you get rich, you get all this money and you give this guy $100,000 or $1 million, what are they going to do? What path is that going to take them in their life? You know what I mean? Or if you get yourself in these doors and in these different places and you bring your entourage with you, how is that going to affect them in their life? Because now they're exposed to different influences. And I think that's the biggest thing mentally, physically, and spiritually that we're all exposed to is influences. And that comes down to the music, that comes down to what we watch, our choice of entertainment, and a lot of times people don't really think about that because what I expose you to is going to have an effect on your life. It's going to have an effect on the way you think. Even if my intent is not to expose you to these type of things, my influence and me bringing you along with me is essentially going to expose you to that. And so all the kind of stuff that, was going through my head, during that phase in that time of my life, and, even still, as I continue to grow and develop and whatnot. So, yeah.
Real quick, to round out the college experience, how was it playing with your brother? A lot of people don't get that chance. So how was that being on the same college team as your brother?
Man, I mean, that was my basketball experience was truly blessed. Being especially at the college level, being able to play against you. You know what I mean? Being able to play against Julius, who I went to high school with, playing against him when he was at Wright State, in the at the college in Division I level, being able to play against my cousin Ray Michael. He was big time college player, played in the NBA, big time overseas right now, and things like that. So being able to play against him a couple of times, being able to get to play against my uncle, he was at Detroit coaching. So those were other experiences there where we were always matched up against Detroit right around New Year's. So having that New Year's game, playing against family, having the family together, those are all experiences, I definitely don't take for granted, being able to experience those. But I mean, playing with my younger brother, I mean, that's something that, people dream of, those experiences and having that opportunity, man, I can't even really put it into words. I mean, I think about all the times where, like I said, playing in the bedroom, finding a hoop, playing in the backyard, staying up late, playing video games, dreaming, talking about playing here, playing there, and things like that. And then being able to step out onto that court and compete and play at that Division I level with little bro, man. I mean, it was amazing. And to even add to it, so when the first game when he got in, first game actually get on the floor together. Funny story, we was like, okay, I'm trying to set my guy up. You know what I mean? It's time for you to get some buckets. You know what I mean? Run it up. And he thinking the same thing. You know what I mean? So we got to a little passing back and forth type thing. He's on the corner. I'm on the top wing. So I get it. I swing it to him. He don't take the shot. He swing it back to me. I don't take the shot. I swing it back to him. You know what I mean? And then we ended up neither one of us shooting on that possession. And then later on, throughout the floor of the game, he hits me on the wing. I knock down the three. So I get to score his first assist, collegiate assist.
Nice.
And then later on in the floor of the game, he cuts a little on the baseline, cuts out to the corner. I kick it out to him in the corner. He knocks down his first three. So I got to give him get my assist off of his first, collegiate Division I bucket there. So I mean, just those experiences right there, man. It's just something that, I mean, those are, dinner table discussions and conversations and things like that. I mean, man, yeah, it was amazing. And then just the whole experience, being on campus together, going to class, going to the workouts, just like I talked about my freshman year, getting up early in the morning before the sun even come out. We on the track, doing bear crawls around the track and running and lifting and just kind of pushing each other, motivating each other. And just knowing that, like, man, I got my little bro right here watching me. You know what I mean? I got to make sure I give it everything I got, stay 10 toes down. And then just knowing he's got my back, throughout the ups and downs that I kind of mentioned, I mean, he was right there along the whole way. And then just me and being able to just kind of pass my experience on to him, as he just kind of, he's an adult at that age, developing his life and whatnot. So, man, yeah, those years right there, man, looking back at them, I'm always just like, man, just honored, and truly blessed to go through that with him. So, shout out to Jalen Bryce. Love you, man.
Shout out to Jalen. Love you, bro. So, summer 2008, found myself in Marion playing at a tournament. I don't know how I ended up getting on the team, or I don't remember a lot prior to that. I feel like in a way, obviously we played in high school, but like I feel like that's when we really got to know each other.
Yeah, for sure.
So I had the chance to go to Marion play in a summer tournament. Your dad was coaching. You and Jalen were playing.
Yeah.
I think Tyson was on the team. I forget. We ended up winning the championship though.
It was a mix between I think Marion, Muncie, Anderson, and Kokomo.
I think maybe Ty Riddle might have played. He played a lefty.
I think he might have been. Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot, but I remember I was going crazy.
Yeah, yep. I remember
I had a little weak dread. I had my SIU gear on.
Yep, Southern Illinois.
Yeah. So after that game, story that I've shared before, obviously you know it. When I first met your sister, seeing her shooting at the timeout, shooting at halftime. After the game, your brother Jalen come, let me get them shorts.
Yep.
You can have the shorts,
I think he still got them too.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, you can have my shorts, but you gotta give your sister my number.
Yeah.
So then by the time I got to Kokomo, she didn't know whether she wanted to hit me up or not. I guess Jada told her not to. Yeah. So I had to holler at you about that, Jada.
Yeah.
But she ended up reaching out to me, and that was the beginning of something that was very, very special. A true, full love story.
Yeah.
So maybe share how that tournament was, what you remember from back then, and then we'll just kind of lead into speaking about,
So, I mean, the summer tournaments, and you mentioned Southern Illinois, I was going to say that's crazy because they was recruiting me too, so we could have low-key linked
I mean, all the schools that you commented on, they recruited me too, so we could have said any one of them.
Our paths would have definitely crossed. You know what I mean? Marion and Kokomo, they definitely did, but I mean, on that next level, they definitely could have too. But, and I was actually about to go there after you went there. Yeah, that was like my favorite school as far as like my first.
I was not about to go.
Because they were hollering me about something.
I was about to go to Butler.
Yeah.
But you remember Van Zant?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I told you this story. So I went on my visit to Butler. I was going to commit there. But SIU had been recruiting me so heavy from early.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm a loyal person, so I'm like, I owe them this visit,
right.
So I'm gonna go on a visit to Butler this week. Next week I go to SIU. So I go on a visit to Butler, and the coach, he's like, we're gonna offer you a scholarship, but we offered it to someone else too. So if someone commits, whoever pretty much commits first gets the spot.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna commit, but I gotta go on this visit.
Right.
I wouldn't have felt right if I didn't go. So I went on a visit. Halfway through the week, I get a call like the scholarship's gone. So then that coming weekend, I went on the visit. Then I ended up committing to SIU.
Yep.
So another crazy story.
Yeah. I had this similar experience with that with Milwaukee. So they gave me that ultimatum. They was like, if you don't commit now, because I was about to go to San Jose State actually for a visit. They was like, if you don't commit now, then we got another guy we're gonna give the scholarship to. And I had Milwaukee, Drake, and San Jose State all in the coach's office after one of our workouts. So I'm sitting there like, dang, and I missed out on. I really like Kent State. Gino Ford at Kent State. They were like kind of like the whole loyalty thing. They was on me heavy from. I think they didn't think I was a freshman. On up.
That was back when we were getting I was getting 30 letters a day.
Yeah, I was getting a ton.
Mailbox full of letters.
Yeah, they was coming.
Damn near probably still got a lot of them that aren't even open.
Yeah. I was gonna say I got some too that I didn't crack the seal on. But it was one of those experiences. I missed out on Kent State. Because I didn't commit, but somebody else beat me to it. And so I just like, okay, so that's how Milwaukee's similar thing there. They were just like, you got to come now. But Southern Illinois, I went on that visit too. So the campus was nice. I love the campus.
Right there in Carbondale.
Yep. They had the little beach in the middle of the campus and everything like that. I remember going to that practice. This was like kind of lit fire on me too. And then my bad, I'll let you get back to it.
Nah, you good.
Me and my dad was sitting there watching one of the practices, and it was two of the guards. I think it was, I can't think of his names. Little dude.
Jamal Tatum, Tony Young.
Tatum and Young, I think. Yeah. So they was out there one-on-one drill. They just going at it. And the ball gets tipped away, and it gets tipped over by us. and these two dudes just start flying after it. And it's out of bounds.
Oh, yeah.
They still going after it.
Yeah,
They
ain't no
don't want
rules,
that
no
ball.
out of bounds.
They down in the tunnel going after it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, they get after it
Yeah.
here. And then the next day when we was leaving, it was early. They all outside, and they was like, yeah, y'all got to clock I think it was like was y'all running like 5-minute miles or like 6-minute miles or something like that?
Yeah. I think like every Friday morning or something
Yeah,
until
like,
you
all right,
got to reach the time.
So they was out there, the coaches was out there sending them all off. I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, they serious over here. So, but yes, our paths went across there too.
Sure. Yeah. Just to double back, obviously we at that tournament, our friendship took another step.
Yeah.
Me and I met your sister. You know, we got together pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
So maybe let's just lead into that. You know, obviously we both are aware of what we experienced going on 2 years ago.
Yeah.
With the transition of your sister, my wife, Aileen. So maybe just how has that been for you as a brother? You know, I can only relate as a husband. You know, one thing I've learned is like all the relationships are different, you know, so it's just kind of having space for that and empathizing with it, you know, and just allowing things just to play out. So how has that been as a brother, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely, it's a moment by moment, day by day experience, or, you know, for lack of, you know, better words. It's just something that you really can't articulate. I think this is an experience where it definitely will ground you in your faith a little bit more. If you don't have a sense of faith, then it kind of leads you into that, you know, because it's not humanly, by design, we're not meant to die, you know, essentially. You know, I've experienced death before, but this one's definitely a little bit closer, you know, being a sibling. Being my twin, you know, somebody that, you know, everybody's like, oh, y'all look so much alike and everything like that. Just grew up in hearing that, just living with her, her energy, our conversations, you know, our relationship. So losing someone that close to you is definitely something that's really hard to explain. And that loss we're not meant to experience, you know. Of course, sin came into the world where we experienced that, you know, but I feel like everything happens by design. And for a reason, every season happens for a reason. And so in the moment, sometimes I question it. You know, you question why, you know, did she have to lose her life? You know, why, you know, is she still not here with us? You know what I mean? I just recently had a little girl, you know what I mean? Why can't, you know, Zosa be able to, you know, hug her auntie and, you know, laugh and joke and play and get to see that interaction and whatnot. But there's a reason for everything that happens in life. You know what I mean? I may not see that reason now, but we're essentially one body. You know what I mean? So I say that meaning that my experience is connecting me with somebody else. I don't know who it is. I don't know where that person is at, but my experience is connecting me with that person. And it will connect me with that person when that time comes. You know, that person may deal with their loss a completely different way, and it could be a destructive way, you know, which is opposite of the way that I'm able to cope and handle that situation. Being that we're one body, when our paths, you know, intertwine, then I may be a means of survival for that person based off of the relationship we're able to build, based off of the dialogue that we're able to have, and what I can feed into that person. So that's how I've been able to cope with it, as far as just kind of adding an explanation to it, you know, as a reason why. But at the same time, just trying to find the beauty in it. You know what I mean? Mookie Aileen, she was a beautiful soul. You know what I mean? She always had a smile on her face. She was always, you know, excited to see me. I don't care if I just left or just came back or it's been a minute. You know, she would hug onto me whenever she see me, just kind of hold on and just kind of latch on and stuff like that. You know, she was one of those persons that just made me feel, you know, present. You know what I mean? Like, man, like my big sister, you know, she's hugging me so tight. You know what I mean? Her face lights up when she talks, and I used to always just try to crack her up and just get her laughing and stuff like that. Tease her about her accent all the time and stuff like that. So I mean, just those moments, those experiences, you know, being able to go to high school with her, being able to walk the halls, you know, she, of course she was from Alabama, so being able to experience those few years with her,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just priceless. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Um, and just, people say, oh, well, that person's spirit lives on. I believe that, the meaning behind that is everything that you take away from them is able to live on through you. And that's some of their mannerisms, some of
Mm-hmm.
their perspectives, some
Mm-hmm.
of the conversations that you've
Mm-hmm.
had, some of even the habits that they might have had,
Just the
um,
energy.
their energy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That is what you're able to continue to allow
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
live, and be present in this space. You know what I mean? The simple fact that she was so willing to, take her shirt off and give it to the next person. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? The
Mm-hmm.
simple fact that she was so humble. You know what I mean? The fact that she found her value in, herself. She
Mm-hmm.
found her
Mm-hmm.
value in just being able to connect with the next person, whether they're homeless on the street, whether they're family, whether they're somebody that she doesn't even know,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're somebody on a high level or a lower level, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? She treated everybody equal. She treated everybody the same, so just seeing that in her and making sure that I do the same thing with the people that I come across and interact with. Because I know, that's a legacy that she's left on here, with us and whatnot. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, man. But I mean, I love my sister to death, man. She, like I said, she was awesome. She was amazing. Zosa, her middle name is Aileen,
Yeah.
so,
And she was born on
and
Angelina's
she was born on
birthday.
her birthday, and that's another thing, I mean, and I don't know how I missed, starting off with
I
that.
remember we
Yeah.
first talked about it when you told me. I think when you told me Kendra was pregnant,
Yeah,
and I
yep.
think you said the day was like a day or two before.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yep, the
like, it's
due
no
date.
way. Like,
Yeah.
of course she's gonna be born on Angelina's
Exactly,
birthday.
yeah.
Like, there was
That's
no, I
just
had no second guess to
yeah,
that.
exactly, yeah. And that's something too, is just like I feel like that's something that really, I mean, there's a lot of experiences in life that kind of like, okay, of course, God is real. God exists. God is here. He's present in our life. A lot of people don't always hear or see or feel him,
It's being able
but
to be aware of those moments
being able to be aware of those
and
moments,
associate them with that.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, Kendra and I, in the future, we were planning on having kids, but in that moment, in that time, we were not planning on, trying to have kids. We were trying to avoid it as much as
Mm-hmm.
possible, just being able to experience each other. But then, after her passing, God obviously stepped in and intervened. It was like, this is something that I personally need for
Mm-hmm.
my growth and development as a man in this
Mm-hmm.
world,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it's something that our family needed,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so the simple fact that Kendra got pregnant, and the simple fact that it's like, okay, yeah, her birthday is going to be around July,
Mm-hmm.
and then, oh, well, it looks like it's going to be July 13th,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, man, what?
Yeah.
And then,
Like this really about to happen,
yeah, and
ain't
then,
it?
oh, it's going to be a girl, and I'm just like, man, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, like that's amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't mention, shortly previous before that, I lost my big cousin,
Yep,
Dare.
all right, yeah, yeah.
He was the oldest of all of our cousins, our
Mm-hmm.
first cousins
Mm-hmm.
with on the McCallum side.
Mm-hmm.
And so uh, in my McCallum side, but through marriage, he's also related to us through my mom's side as well. So my mom's side, we have traits of red hair, light skin, freckles, and things like that. That's where I get all my freckles
Mm-hmm.
and the red hair, my beard and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So not on the on top of Zosha being born on Mookie's birthday, same month, a year
Mm-hmm.
after she passed, this little girl had the nerve to come out light skinned
Mm-hmm.
with a few freckles
Yeah.
and reddish hair too,
Oh, really?
like
Wow.
similar to Dare. So I'm just
Wow.
like, man, God is definitely in the details,
Mm-hmm.
in this little girl right here. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, the scripture always says that, he may take away, but he's definitely going to restore, and give back and replenish. And just from seeing Zosha now, the way she moves, the way she interacts, I'm like, man, she definitely got a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
Angeline in her,
Yeah, no,
man.
you can
So
see it in
yeah, you can
her.
just see
Yeah,
it. I mean, she's always smiling. She's the sweetest little thing
yeah.
ever,
That's what's
man.
up. That's
She's
what's up.
already, you can see she tries to share and she's
Mm-hmm.
caring and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's really present, in the moment and
Mm-hmm.
aware of her surroundings and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, much like Angeline was. So I'm just like, man, like these two right here would be
Mm-hmm.
inseparable.
Oh yeah,
You
for
know
sure,
what I
for sure.
mean? So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I
So
appreciate you sharing that, bruh.
yeah.
Like you said, just having that like a foundation and a basis of faith,
Mm-hmm.
and like you also mentioned, tailoring that to you and your experience, no
Yeah.
matter what your faith or religion is or your
Right.
spiritual beliefs are, just kind of having that
Mm-hmm.
to keep you in the moment and allow you to, have that strong basis. That's definitely what's allowed me to continue on, like, relatively quick, and just have that basis and just know and understand what I need to do, now moving forward for myself,
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that,
Yeah,
bro.
for sure.
Maybe real quick, I know you wearing Lil Bro's brand, you want to give him a shout out.
Heroes, shout out
to Jalen.
Heroes. Hustle every day, reaching out to every soul. Spoken about my little brother, man. So he is an entrepreneur. He's a business owner. He has his own brand, which is Heroes, the Heroes brand. Hustle every day, reaching out to every soul. And he's just interlined with the same beliefs that we have. It's just reaching out to that next person. How can you help promote that person? How can you help encourage that person? How can you help uplift that person? Because it only benefits you for a moment if you are the only one that can kind of make it or be successful, or even be in a state of mind where you're able to be content, and flourish and find success with where you're at. But being able to reach out to the next person, in our community, uplifting our community and whatnot. So, man, really proud of my brother's brand, man. He does T-shirts, he does clothing, such as, hoodies, sweatsuits, jackets. Top of the line quality, premium quality. I got stuff that, I paid a lot of money for, but I'm like, man, I got to throw this on just because of comfort, what I mean? And the quality of it. And he's connected with people, in our community. He's giving back to people in our community, and things like that. And he's also on many different levels. He has a couple of NBA guys, a couple of NFL guys and things like that he's tapped in with and building relationships with as well. And he's just one of those guys, man, kind of like, Aileen. He's always finding a way to kind of, how can I help you? How can, we help each other? How can we grow together? How can I help you reach your goals, and the levels of success that you want to get to, as he continues to grow and continues to develop, where he's at and, his perspective on life, which is, every day you got to work hard, you got to hustle, you got to give it, 110%. But at the same time, you got to find somebody else to help, what I mean? As you're projecting yourself, you got to bring somebody along with you too. So, I just love what it stands for, man. At the end of the day, my dad used to call us heroes, and that's kind of where it comes from, and, he's carrying out, that same philosophy that my dad kind of installed in us as far as just our work ethic, just making sure we're working hard, making sure we're giving everything we got. And then just him taking that and giving it to everybody. My dad was the exact same way. Like I said, that's kind of why me, Mookie, and Jalen are the way we are. My dad was one of those guys in the community that would help out, other kids, other youth, try to be a pillar for them, try to guide them. I got grown men, to this day that just like, man, your dad was so, influential in my life. And man, he was just so positive for me. What I mean? He just kind of helped me, stay on the right track, see things a little bit differently. Even, you're a tough experience in your life, that's still a building block, that you can utilize to project you to where you're supposed to be at. And so I think Jalen's definitely doing a really good job of carrying out that legacy, through the Heroes brand and whatnot. So
nice. So to wrap up the interview, the conversation, I say, is there anything else you want to share? And I meant to open it up at the beginning, so we could kind of, it'd be more of a mutual, So is there anything else you want to share in general, or anything that you would want to ask me?
Yeah, for sure. For me, just to kind of, cut it off for me and then and pass it on here. For me, you asked me, what am I currently doing? I think right now I mentioned, ministry, and I feel like everybody's ministry is like different. A lot of times people hear ministry and they think of, you got to be a pastor, or you got to be in a pulpit, or you got to be in a church and things like that. But if you think about, Christ's journey, his ministry was in the streets. You know what I mean? It was in not the best communities, but sometimes the worst communities and things like that. Same thing with his disciples, and I feel like everybody is called to have a ministry. I mentioned we're all one body. I mean? We need the exact same essentials and necessities to live and survive. And so when it comes down to, kind of just where I'm at, I know me and you talk a lot of times, about where we are currently in the moment, where we are currently, in this season of our life. And just one thing I would like to share is I'm in a place of trying to find unrealistic faith and living a life of an excuseless life.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is something that I picked up from one of the gentlemen that, is a motivational speaker. He's a pastor and whatnot. But basically what that is saying is a lot of times it's easy for us to find excuses, and it's easy for us to cast the blame on our circumstances, whether it be things that's happening in our society, things that's happening in our country, things that are happening in our community, things that are happening in our workplace,
Mm-hmm.
on our teams, and things like that. It's easy for us to find excuses and cast blame on other people when things aren't going the way we necessarily want to. But I feel like the big picture um, that we get from the gospel is that nothing's easy. You know what I mean? Nothing is going to be smooth. Nothing is going to be um, a perfect situation, a perfect scenario. If it was, then we would just be able to sit back, relax, and just coast through life, not have to put any work in. I feel like us being college athletes, we did not just coast through our experience.
Mm-hmm.
We did not get to where we got to the level or the abilities that we were able to gain. We didn't get to that by just chilling, and not doing anything. We had to grind. We talked about the 6 a.m.s. We talked about the workouts. We talked about looking back at it now and be like, man, how did I get through a whole day with go, 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 and like no sleep, but we were in a place where we really didn't make no excuses. We couldn't find those excuses because as soon as you start to make that excuse, now you're 2 steps back. Now you're 3 steps back, 4 steps back, because now your focus is on that instead of looking at the situation. Okay, this is what's given to me. How can I make the best of this opportunity? I briefly mentioned, as a freshman, they're going to redshirt me. You know what I mean? You can't play. That's what I heard. And then I could have made an excuse and be like, oh, well, maybe I'm not good enough. Or, man, the coaches are doing this and the coaches are doing that. I could have just gave up and just kind of, took what was given to me. But then I was like, okay, why are they not allowing me to play? Is there something I need to work on? Is there an area of my game that I need to fix? Do I need to, develop in this area or that area? And I looked at it that way, and I was able to figure it out. And once I figured it out, I found myself out on the court, found myself playing, found myself being able to say that I was a freshman of the year, in a D1 conference, you know what I mean? Coming from, no, you're going to redshirt to, oh, I'm freshman of the year, you know what I mean? And so I think athletics gives you a really good mindset and the ability to kind of push through adversity. And I think that kind of leads into, living an excuseless lifestyle. And so that's just kind of where I'm at. I throw my age out there. I'm 33 years old. I'm still at a place where I haven't got all the answers. I'm still figuring things out. I ask questions on the daily. I seek out information. I seek knowledge. I look in the mirror every day and say, how can I grow? Look in the mirror and say, man, bro, you are struggling in this area. You're weak in this area. You can do a little bit better in this area. And just being honest with myself and be like, okay, now let's figure it out. You know what I mean? How can you make this weakness a strength? You know what I mean? How can you fix this habit and make it a better habit? And I feel like that's what life is really all about. You know what I mean? If we get to a place, we've all been there, I've been there, where we just allow the weight to just kind of fall upon us and we allow those excuses to pile up, it can get heavy. You know what I mean? Life can get really heavy. You can find your place in a state of depression, experiencing anxiety, confusion, and just being lost. You know what I mean? But if you just have the mentality, just 1% every day, let me try to figure something out. That's going to help me, get to where I want to be, where I know I can be, and just having faith, unrealistic faith that no matter how big this load may feel upon me, God has equipped me with everything I need to bear it. I got everything I need from head to toe, externally and internally, to get to the success that I want in life, or just the contentment in life that I want to be at. So yeah, those are just kind of my words and kind of where I'm at right now, as far as just
Appreciate it.
Yeah, who I am today.
Yep.
On this beautiful Monday morning. So
no, I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah. So for if I could switch it up here and take my role as the podcast lead here.
Yeah.
So for you, what kind of, and some people may know, some people may not, what motivated you to take on this platform, because I feel like a voice is a very powerful thing. You know, everybody has a voice, but to actually step out there and to put your voice out into the world and into the open, um, you know, creating this podcast. I know this was something that you and Aileen kind of came up with together, kind of planned it out. So yeah, just for, you know, for me too, a little bit, just kind of tell me a little bit about, you know, that experience, you know, kind of coming up with that, that idea of, you know, Into the Neighborwood, and then just kind of where you're at now with it and where you want to see this platform go.
I think for me, through my mom's journey of being in recovery, and I started going to some meetings with her, I started to understand the real importance of our own individual story.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had already kind of been building my story up, you know, and then I kind of realized like the importance of our story, and the importance to share our story and just to be able to express ourselves. You know, a lot of people, for whatever reason, just don't have one person to feel comfortable expressing themselves to.
Right.
So I understood the power of stories and just sharing, and whether it's for your own well-being or, you know, to hopefully influence others. And what makes it a little easier for me, I'm not very opinionated.
Yeah.
You know, I try not to be. I feel like something I kind of came up with to myself. I don't even know if it makes sense. But I feel like opinion is like the cheapest form of ego, like the extreme of like unhealthy ego.
Yeah.
So I try not to like make any like conclusions and any opinions. So I know I'm not gonna be on here emotionally attached to anything that's going on in society.
Right.
I'm gonna just be sharing my experience, my observations, and allowing others to do it. So there was no like, I'm not worried about like what the words are gonna say, what the content's gonna be, you know. So I feel like this is just not a platform like that. So that allows me to just be comfortable, be myself, and just kind of talk and have a conversation. So yeah, I would say those were like, that's what kind of took it to the point to establish a platform.
Right. Yeah. No. And I appreciate that. I feel like I may speak for other people too, because I myself, I've been, you know, kind of encouraged to start a platform myself, you know, and just put and create a stage where, like you said, giving an opportunity for people to just kind of speak, you know, and share their story. A lot of people don't, like I said, a voice is a very important thing. A lot of people feel like they don't have a voice. They feel like their story don't matter. They feel like nobody's going to hear it. And even if it's a small group, you know what I mean? If it reaches 1, 2, or 3 people, I mean, that can, you know, do a huge amounts for people in their lives and stuff. So yeah, I appreciate it. You know, your platform that you have here,
love
and everything. So, so another question, you know, this is something kind of going back, you know, to where you and Aileen kind of had a vision for this as well. How has it been, you know, since, you know, her passing, as far as just kind of continuing this journey, you know, what has been your motivation? What has been, your encouragement to continue on?
I would say a lot of it just goes back to kind of what you stated as far as like having a basis of faith.
Yeah.
You know, so I never once questioned this experience.
Yeah.
I was able to relatively soon apply it to just kind of what was destined.
Yeah.
Given just, you know, what we had experienced and where we were at, and what we were, just where we ended up finding ourselves in that moment.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't even a second guess to hold up or slow up or to stop up.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
give me a couple of days, some space, just to, you know, breathe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then like, let's keep it going, because I know that this is what she would want me to do. You know, so it really wasn't tough at all. Relatively in general, you know, because I feel like, you know, we had not intentional talks, but I had a grasp of pretty much how I needed to move myself and kind of where we were at and where we were headed. We already kind of had the vision.
Yeah.
So now it's just like, let me just continue flowing in this experience. And she touched me right now.
Yeah.
But for me,
I felt it too a little bit.
Yeah. For me, the learning experience from this has been like, understanding that like every relationship is different, you know, and every experience is different, and making sure um, moving forward as myself, but at the same time, um, knowing that all the experiences are different, you know, and trying to just meet everyone where it's at, through who I am and through what how I would want to be there for anyone, you know, just to make them feel good, and give them encouragement, or, you know, just be positivity towards the situation. So for me, that's been a learning experience. And kind of just, you speak to like the unrealistic faith.
Yeah.
I feel like I've already had that, kind of, you know, it's like a every moment thing, but it's like, I feel like I already had that, you know, and I'm glad you put that term to it.
Right.
So it's like, I never questioned faith, you know, not that I'm like, I grew up religious or even spiritual, or like even had like a foundation as far as that. But I realized like, I got faith.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it come down to. Like, I got faith. I got, I'm just surrendered to whatever happens, pretty much. So I even had a conversation prior to coming here about just understanding how that adds to my purpose, and you know, just preparing myself, continuing to prepare myself for whatever that purpose is. You know, there's some vision towards that, but, you know, I know that's going to be a big part of how we'll be able to influence the world.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, so for me, it just allowed me to fall more into the moment, allowed me to fall more into our purpose, more into our service, you know, and just have a whole new experience, and even perspective upon the experience that is very rare.
Right. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate that.
It, bro.
Yeah. I love, man. Like, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, it's life is amazing, you know, full circle. You know what I mean? It's we kind of talked about our experiences from high school on up to college and where we are now, and you know, being able to sit and have these type of conversations. You know what I mean? And have a mindset where, like you mentioned, you know, focus on, you know, our purpose, our service, and understanding that it's not just about us, but it's about others as well. I think that's a huge thing. So yeah, like I said, I appreciate the platform, appreciate you know, what you're doing, and the stage that you're setting for other people as well. So
no, I appreciate you coming.
I was excited when you and Aileen was telling me about it and everything like that. I still need my T-shirt, you know, the OG T-shirt. I still need one of those and whatnot.
Hey, since he brought it up, I was planning on today being the day where I announced that we will be selling the merch. So I have the B-Wood 30 logo and the Inside the Neighborwood logo. So that store online is actually getting set up right now. So look forward to that.
Yeah, I need one of those.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you coming, bro.
Yeah,
great conversation. You know, we're gonna stay locked in.
Yeah.
Keep building. Stay in the moment.
Absolutely, yeah.
Appreciate it, bro.
Appreciate you too, man. I love it, man.